What's going on, guys? Ricky with the Flip Lab, and today joined here with Vikings Real Estate. So these guys are right down the street from our office.
Oh, yeah.
We got Jake Landis over here and Luke Rotvold.
Norwegian last name. It's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy Vikings over here.
Exactly.
Welcome to have you guys. You guys have been, I've been following you guys for the last couple of years. I know we've done some deals together, which is awesome. Finally this year.
Closed yesterday on the last one.
Yeah. How'd that one, we'll break that one down, but
Okay.
I've been seeing you guys, especially this past year, it seems like opened up a brand new office down the street, looks really dope.
Yep.
I know doing some development out in Sedona, building up a short-term rental portfolio, it seems like up in Prescott, so you guys are kind of doing it all.
Yeah.
We're all over
really
the place.
cool.
For sure.
How did, I never really heard the story though, how did you guys kind of partner up and where did it all start?
So, my boyfriend here, Jake. No,
we go way back.
Jake and I have known each other since we were like 5 years old. So we played on the same soccer team back in Prescott. So we both grew up in Prescott. We always knew we wanted to be kind of entrepreneurial, even from when we were young. Our parents were, so it was kind of always in like our blood. Moved here for college. We worked at the Hyatt Gainey Ranch. So we were bartending and serving.
Good times.
Just doing like the normal jobs that you do when you're going through, through school. It took me seven years to get my degree.
It took me 6 and I never actually even got it.
It took me 5.
Okay.
We're no 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Then we ended up, kind of at a point where we knew that we wanted to get into real estate. Jake ended up going with like a certain team that they were doing a little bit more traditional, but they were still cold calling. And then I was doing wholesaling, on a team as well. And both of our teams just kind of ended up fizzling out where it wasn't really going to make sense. And like we had like a perfect point where it kind of just made sense for, we talked for like, let's do it. Like now's the time to jump in and start our company. So that was, I think, 2015, maybe 2014. No, 2015.
I think we started in March and I think it was 2014, I think.
Yeah.
So
It's been a while.
I know.
Yeah, 8 years.
So 8 years in now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that was what kind of like, that was what kind of started the whole thing.
And then, did you guys start out just wholesaling, or did you slowly progress as the years went on into taking on bigger and bigger projects?
Yeah, pretty much. We obviously, there was like a huge learning curve because obviously when you're on a team, there's so much that you don't have to worry about. It's on whoever.
You just focus on your role that you have.
So then obviously when we just broke off and just started our own company, started Viking Real Estate, there was such a huge learning curve because it was like, well, what are we supposed to do with this now? What are we supposed to do with this? Because that was stuff that was maybe taken care of for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marketing or like, just could be anything. Like where the hell do you get your numbers from? How do you pull the numbers? All that kind of stuff. So there were so many details that was really difficult to try to, to kind of learn to get going. So, there's a huge learning curve.
Just trial and error. Honestly, we just failed, and kept fucking moving forward.
Yeah. Do you think, like new people starting out, do you think that's a good route to take? Like join a team that is already doing business and just focus on, like you were saying, Jake, like your one role? I
think it's the best thing. Personally, I think, it's going to be like drinking out of a fire hose. You're going to learn so much faster. But I would also, most people probably wouldn't do this, but I would also make that known to the person that you're going to work with.
Oh, yeah.
That you have intentions to, have bigger things.
Yeah, to move on, do other things for sure.
I'm not saying like that's like you have to do that, but just out of respect, honestly.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure out, like for my real estate business, just like the best types of people to hire.
Yeah.
Seems like I've hired some people that seem to like really, like they're deep into YouTube University and learning wholesaling, and they're kind of like trying to do it on their own, and then they want to like join the team. But I've also felt like I've had some people that they kind of then come, they learn all the stuff that I kind of know, and then hey, I'm gonna try to kind of just do my own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've been trying to figure out like what do you guys think is like the best types of people to hire if you have a business like yours or mine?
I wouldn't necessarily say I think there's like a best type of person, but like because we had that exact same issue. We had multiple people that they joined our team.
Super high turnover.
And they, they wanted knowledge is what they wanted, and it's hard to get mad at someone for that because, you got to start somewhere. But what we did different is we started in our interview process, we started asking different questions. So once we kind of changed those questions to a specific, a specific type of question versus what we were asking. Because obviously, what we were hearing before is people were like, oh, I want to get into real estate because you can make a lot of money, all that kind of stuff, right?
Financial freedom.
Right, exactly. All the reasons that people say they get into it. And so once we rotated those questions to like actually asking like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's like when you ask that question, if they're like, oh, I want to be doing what you're doing, it's like, okay, it's probably a red flag that, because we're trying to hire people that we want to stay with Viking Real Estate for life now. Like we've made it very obvious that when we do our interviews, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people who want to stick with us for a long time. Because, obviously, if turnover in real estate's obviously already high. But training takes a lot of, it's time intensive, it's capital intensive. Yep. It's just a pain in the ass. And so if you're going to hire someone that you already know, they're probably just looking to get information and get out of there. That's what we kind of stopped doing.
Yeah, especially like the sales role, acquisitions. It's a super tough job.
I
know,
super tough.
You make a bunch of YouTube videos like live calling and playing video games, which I think's super cool. I do a lot of that stuff as well.
Right.
But not everyone really has the stomach for it to do it day in and day out.
Most people don't have the stomach for that.
Yeah.
So
do you guys pay your employees just commission, or are they on like payroll? How do you guys do it?
Yeah. So before, when we were noticing that high turnover, we were commission only. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking about, we know how hard that role is, and it's kind of feast and famine. Right now there's a lot of famine. Like,
exactly.
Not many deals out there. It's super tough. So we pivoted from a commission only to a salary plus commission. And we used to have a big commission. We used to pay a big chunk because of that. Because it was so feast or famine.
Right.
Like, you could go a month where you have 3 deals, and for like an acquisition manager, and then a month or 2 months where they have 0. So we felt like, we put ourselves in their shoes, and we're like, okay, how is someone going to be able to get into this position, one, stay in it where they're good enough to, stick around for 5-6 months, where they actually have some skills, which is what the hardest part is.
Yeah.
And we found that, lowering the commission a bit and giving them a guaranteed salary every single month was the best role for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I think I might have made a mistake too. It's some of my early on hires was just like they were commission only. And then obviously too is like one of the worst times. I hired the majority of my sales guys like after May.
Okay.
So it was super tough time to kind of come
of this year.
Yeah, super tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't deals to go around.
There's nothing. No one could have guessed this. We knew it was going to end sometime, but we didn't know it was going to be like a light switch.
Yeah, because I moved into this office. Like previous few years, it was just like me and my partner, and we were just doing our own thing. Then this year, I'm like, let's get a team, let's expand, scale it. Yeah. Hired Brandon as COO, so he was kind of like first hire. Shout out to Brandon.
What's up, Brandon?
Also, cameraman on the switches right now. But he was killing it. Did like 20 deals his first month, and then that's like when the funds were still buying.
Yep.
And then I was like, dude, like let's take on some more sales guys. So we ended up getting up to like 5 sales guys, and 4 of them left. Yeah. All within like a month over the last few months because the deals dried up, and it was a tough position for me too. I was like coming in every day, almost like, what the hell? I did like I'd rather go back to it. It was just me and my partner, like whatever. Dude. I got a few months off to just kind of like
for sure
chill.
But, well, that's like I feel like because you take it on like yourself as like a business owner, you feel accountable for literally like their success, and that's the way we found it. Like this last 6 months was that shit's challenging.
But I also felt like it was difficult to like really push when they're commission only. To be like, I know what it takes, right? You got to hop on a dialer for like 6 hours a day, go drive around town, knock on doors, get yelled at. Like if you really want to get deals.
That's not the average person won't do it. So that's why it's so tough. You know what I mean? That's why this industry is so tough. It really is.
So I was wondering if you get people on more like a payroll, if like it's a little easier to position yourself, like even for them, of like kind of setting those expectations. Like, hey, you really got to like make dials from this time to this time, and
exactly.
having a little bit more structure.
When you feel like once you actually start, paying monthly as well, you feel like you can actually tell them to do that.
Right. That's what I was saying.
It's more difficult, obviously, when it is full commission, because it's like, you work for me, but you kind of
like how bad do you want it? If you
Yeah.
don't want it that bad and you want to go to Sedona for the weekend or the week, like that's cool, but you're not going to do deals, and then we're not doing deals.
And the problem is it's hard for you to be like, I don't think you can do, like, you should stay here.
Right.
Because it's like, well, they're like, well, I'm not getting paid anything, like I'm commission only, so no, I'm not going to. So we noticed that. We noticed that for sure.
Yeah. What made you guys this year buy that office space and really convert that? I know you also own a few of the businesses in that shopping complex, and then essentially you like made one of them your office, right?
So like kind of what jump started the whole thing was we had our office in Tempe. It was a small office. We had, speaking of, we had a former employee that did us dirty. He was siphoning leads from us, and he was closing them behind our back.
Ooh.
And so we ended up finding out, and obviously he's not with us. Obviously, it was kind of a bad falling out with him. But like we just had this feel for it, because he was with us for like 2.5 years. So every time we went into this office, we just had this like gut feeling of like this, he reminded, going into the office reminded me of him, and it was not a good feeling. And yes, his name is Juan. I have no problem saying that. But I mean, so it's like we'd go into this office, we'd be like, God, dude, it just reminds me of Juan. Like it reminds me of him in here. And we'd be like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like we both just felt that we just wanted to move on to something, bigger and better. And then also our new office is right next to our houses. So that was a big thing too.
Yeah, we wanted to be closer to home.
Exactly.
Not like Tempe's far, but
no, it's nice. Like I'm 5 minutes down the road from my office. I know, like you guys, I think, are you both in the islands over there?
I'm right across from the
islands. Right across from it.
Yeah. So we can each get home in 30 seconds now, which is crazy. And not even that we needed something like to be like that close, obviously, because that honestly is ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. But more so just we wanted to level up, kind of go to that next step. And we ended up finding that property. Drove by, it was an old Euro shop or something like that. Greek restaurant. And it was vacant. We'd seen it had been vacant for a while. I drive by there all the time. We eat at Sidewinder Subs all the time. And so because that place was vacant, I called him and we were like, hey, would you ever consider selling this place? And the guy said yes. And he said it was his flagship property, so he's like, it's gonna have to make sense. And so we're like, okay, we'll run the numbers on it. We saw what the sandwich shop and then also what the sushi bar, we saw what they were doing in rents, and it made total sense. And so
both those places been there a while too. Those seem like pretty good tenants.
Yeah. That was like the biggest thing.
Yeah, it
was for us, because especially with like retail, like a retail space like that, restaurants, it can be freaking tricky.
You drive around town right here with all these shopping complexes, and there's a lot of vacancies that you're seeing.
Well, and like we live right next door to this building, and we saw this Greek restaurant just, midnight move out.
Yep.
After we talked to the owner, and it was sitting vacant for 6 months, and he was trying to rent this out. So we're like, okay, we got to make sure these tenants are solid. So Sidewinder's been there for like 15 years, and then the sushi restaurant's been there for like 13 years. They both made it through COVID, everything. Yeah. We went and talked to them beforehand, just got a feel for them. And we're like, let's do it.
How's the math working out on that? Are you guys pretty much like living rent free in your office space? Or?
So the way we had to underwrite it, to get a commercial loan was they were like, okay, well, what is your business going to occupy, and what are you going to pay in rent? So like it comes out to, I think it's like $1.50 a foot, $2 a foot, something like that. Because that's what market rate is in the whole place. So even with us paying ourselves rent, we basically, so I'll break it up into two sides. So in our, 3,000 feet that we occupy, we subleased out, certain offices. We plan to grow into them, but we're like, look, we're keeping this lean
for
and
now. Yeah, it makes sense.
We don't want to just fill these offices with payroll and everything else. So we're like, okay, what can we do? So we subleased out all these other offices. So in our section alone, we're literally, our rent is covered by what those other offices pay us.
What the other ones sublease for.
So then on top of that, between the sushi shop, the sandwich shop, and our space rent, I think we cash flow like $5,500 a month.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good deal right there.
And then the principal pay down is another $2,000 a month or something like that.
And we made it fun. Like we brought like our GC and his assistant are in, you know, one of the offices or two of the offices. We've got like a mortgage lending company now in another office. We've got a broker, like a real estate broker that's in another office. Now we were just talking about this before. We might turn one into like a podcast room. So we're kind of doing some different things. We're doing a virtual office space, which we haven't really talked too much about yet. But we've got like, you know, room for like 500 to 600 mailboxes, like PO boxes.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're going to do that, and we're going to have options. So it's going to be like mailboxes. We're also going to do, we have a conference room. So we'll have access to like, if somebody wants just a mailbox, if somebody wants mailbox and conference room, if somebody wants mailbox, conference room, and live answering services for their business. So we're going to do all kinds of different things like that.
Love that. Was that your first like commercial deal that you guys did, or have you done?
The Tempe one was the very first one we did, yeah.
So you did a similar thing with your Tempe office?
So that office, it's like a 1,000 square foot suite in kind of like an office park.
Yeah.
And with that was the seller of that gave us a smoking deal, gave it to us for exactly what he bought it, and he seller carried 100% of it. So like this was like
crazy.
Year and a half after we got into business, and this is kind of crazy. This is a good story because we started off working in Luke's house. That's, you know, we're like, shit, we don't have any money. We're
was
like
this before all the babies?
Oh yeah. First, this is before either of us were even married.
Yeah. So we were working out of Luke's house, and you know, I still had my license, and I switched over from that team, and I met this guy. My dad actually was a contractor, and he was remodeling this office for this guy that was going to be a broker for what was he a broker for? I don't even know what company he was with.
It was oh god, no, I'll think of it.
Like Realty One or something.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he moves in. You know, my dad renovates this office. This broker moves in. Him and my dad start talking, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my son does real estate. He's an agent. And he's like, "Okay, well, give me his number." Sure enough, this guy calls me, and we start talking. And he's like, "Well, you know, our office is right down the street. You guys are more than welcome to come work out of this office for free." So we're like, "Okay." Like, cause he had no agents yet. He was actually out of Des Moines, and he had like 14 brokerages out there, and he was kind of deciding if he was going to get started out here or not, but he moved forward with this one brokerage. So we started, you know, coming in, being able to use the space for free. I hung my license with them. So it was like a win-win. He's like, no one else is in here.
Right.
And then after about a year, we built a relationship with him, and he got a stupid offer to sell all of his brokerages back in Des Moines. And this was the only one he had here, and it wasn't anything crazy.
We were the only people there still.
Yeah. And it was more so like this, just like he loved coming out to like spring training and stuff. So it was more like
He liked Arizona vibes.
Exactly.
From Des Moines, really weird.
Yeah, exactly. So sure enough, like after like a year and a half of us working out of there, he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be selling this office. You know, would you guys have interest?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely." You know, what would kind of the terms be? And he's like, "Well, you know, I really like you guys. I will literally give it to you for what I bought it for before even renovating the unit." And we're like, okay, and this was still when we had literally next to no money. I mean, this is 12 months in, we're just grinding.
We did 80,000 in sales our first 9 months in the business.
Okay.
So it's like, obviously when you do 80 grand, you've got overhead and whatnot. Like, you're not making a lot of money.
Both of us working other jobs, you know, just to survive and everything. And we're trying to roll as much back into the business as we can. And he's like, okay, well, you know, I will sell or carry this to you. And we're like, okay, how much would you want down? He's like, don't give me any money down. It was a higher interest rate. He's smart. He charged us 8% interest.
Okay.
But we're like, okay, let's look at this. And we looked at like our monthly payment and everything. And that decision to get that first office was one of the scariest moves we've ever made. It was like $1,200. And we're like, oh God, should we do this? Can we do this?
I don't know.
And we went back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And then we just stepped into
bite
it.
the bullets.
Yeah.
Just fucking do it.
We're like, look, we know where we want to take this. Like, okay, we can actually have space to, you know, bring other people on. And that's when we kind of started.
Kind of turned it from like a side hustle to, all right, this can be.
But we were still doing it full time, but like being able to like bring other people on.
Right.
Yeah. We started bringing, you know, other people on and, you know, kind of going that all commission route. And it was literally like, we've been cold calling in the business since the get-go. This was back before like anyone else was really doing it. There was like a couple people.
This is back when you'd cold call and people would answer and they'd say, are you seriously calling me right now to ask me if I'm interested in selling my house? And you're like,
a little different than
and you're
today's.
like, yeah. And they're like, I've never seen this before. And you're like, okay, cool. Yeah. So it was so much easier to get deals back then.
Yeah. So we would bring, new team members on, and it was strictly just cold calling. It was eat what you kill. So, and then, so today, even moving into that new office was, another huge, scary step. We're like,
for sure.
Shit, do we really want to,
that purchase price was...
Well, dude, the biggest thing about that one was how much money we trapped in it.
So right, because what was the purchase price on that?
$175.
Yeah, so you're probably... And that took a while after permits, and I know you guys completely gutted the place and renovated it.
Yeah, I think we ended up putting $250,000 into it in the renovation. Mm-hmm. Something like our money out of pocket on that one was like... It was stupid. It was like, I think between Jake and I think we were like $700K out of pocket in that thing.
Real estate has you feeling rich one day and then broke the next day real quick, right?
It's ridiculous.
But we're so happy we actually put a long-term commercial loan on it, like right when we bought it.
Yeah.
And thank God we did, because interest rates have fucking completely changed.
Yeah.
And we locked in an interest rate at like 3.2%.
Oh, on a commercial loan?
On a commercial loan. Like,
that's amazing.
So we're...
Keep that
like
forever.
it sucks. Like obviously, we trapped a ton of cash, but it's like, when you're actually looking at the big picture, like this was
super safe property.
Best thing we could have done.
Yeah, that's our headquarters now. Like we absolutely love it.
I think, great location right over here.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things too. Like, we did all the extra things. Like, when you're deciding on when you're renovating, you're like, should we do this? Like, it's gonna be a lot more expensive, but should we do it? And it's like we kind of just said, we're like, let's just go all out, everything that we want. Just so we're not having to come back later and be like, oh, let's add this now, or let's do this different now. Because it's like, you hate doing that once you're already moved in.
Disrupt the team. You got to move out for a week. I mean,
it's a little different than like your house flipping brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just in there. And the cool thing is, it's like I literally love going to work every day because we love the office so much. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly what we wanted it to be. It's exactly how we wanted it. So, I mean, it's a blast going to work every day.
Yeah. And then, so you guys obviously did that one, and then the Sedona deal I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I remember someone sent me that the day when it was like getting blasted to everyone.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, man, this looks like an amazing opportunity, but I don't do a lot of like renovation stuff out here at all, and that was just like too big of a project for me. So I passed, but I looked at it, I was like, I feel like you don't see a lot of opportunities like this.
Yeah.
And I know it got like passed around in sub-2 community, and I know Anthony had a good assignment off of that deal, but talk to me about...
Some people got paid on that.
Yeah, dude. I think there were like over 100K of assignments on that one, right? $250,000 of assignments, but...
Hey, the numbers worked for us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where are you guys at with that?
What is it? Probably, I think we're about 75% done.
Yeah, we're about to... so we hit a roadblock. Our GC didn't submit for the sprinklers right when we should have, but honest mistake, whatever. So we're about to start work on interiors here really soon, and then we should have it done. I think we're talking about by April,
which is crazy.
Like 8 units or
10 units.
10?
Yeah. So what was nice about this deal is it already gone through permits.
Yeah.
It already had pads.
It was RTI,
poured,
everything.
Everything. So with
you just had to go up with it essentially, right?
Exactly.
Which is huge.
And Sedona, especially, I feel like Sedona. I talked to like the Imans about their project that they had going on, and it just sounded like working with Sedona is not the easiest.
And it's still, I mean, even though we had permits and everything RTI, they still came back and said, oh, well, you need to change this, you need to do this. And we're like, no, it's literally on the stamped set of plans right here saying that it's completely good to go. And they came back and they're like, oh, well, that guy doesn't work here anymore. And it's like, well, that's not our problem.
Right. We got the green light, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah, I mean, because that saved literally like a year's worth of time. Like that's what's so hard about development is
a year.
Yeah, for sure. You work with an architect, you draw up the plans, you see, you submit it to the city, they send back corrections. This is like a year process going back and forth or more. And then you got to, start your underground work, and then you do all, your pads and everything else. So what was nice about this is we could literally, like you said, just go vertical right as soon as we closed on it. So,
but from that point, it's kind of crazy because it's looking like we're on pace where we might have that thing finished in a little over, like maybe even around a year to maybe a little over a year, which like to me, that seemed crazy. Like to be able to go vertical 10 units with garages and do it in a year. Because I mean, we've talked about this before, but the first development job that Jake and I ever did was that duplex downtown Chandler, and it took us 3 years to do that. It was the first one we ever did.
Really,
a little duplex downtown
1,200
Chandler.
square foot units.
Yeah. So that took us like 3 years. But again, it was just because we were wet behind the ears. We didn't know what we were doing. So obviously we've learned now, and you learn so much by just taking stuff on. And so it's another thing that we always tell people, like if you're ever thinking about, like a big move, and it's like, you're kind of like, should I do it? Should I not do it? I'd say 10 out of 10 times I say go for it. I mean, as long as it's not like, as long as it's like a calculated
risk. Be smart about that statement.
For sure. But if it's
yes.
like a calculated risk though, because that duplex, like, really, there's no way that we really could have gotten into like a lot of trouble, like in over our head. We were in over our head in the sense that we'd never done it before.
Yeah.
But like, worst case scenario is you just sell it when it's done, right? And so it's like, I don't know. I always tell people, if you're seriously thinking about doing like a move like that, like take a chance on you rather than not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bet on yourself.
I haven't done it yet. Like I want to eventually get into like development. And, I'm on year like 4 real estate.
Yeah.
Sounded like I tell people it takes time, and it's a lifelong thing you're going to end up doing. So there's time to progress step to step. But I want to, I think, start taking on a project. I looked at it, if you take on your first development project, even if you break even, I feel like all the learning that you'll
absolutely.
And like I said, start with a duplex. Start with something where there's not a lot of risk. You know what I mean? Where it's like, if you started with a 10 unit in Sedona, that could sink you. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not saying, if you've got something like that and you don't have the pieces in place to jump in.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've obviously kind of worked our way up to stuff like that now. So
that was the big thing why we even jumped on that duplex. We're like, okay, we're going to keep this thing.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, what's the worst thing that happens is, okay, you trap a few dollars in the deal.
A little bit more money into it.
Yeah, you're a little bit more money. But, if you look at it like that, literally time heals all deals. Time heals all deals. I mean, unless you go like BK on it, but
right.
But I mean, like, even say if you have a little extra money in the deal, time heals all deals. Rents are going to go up. Principal pay down is going to happen. Appreciation. I mean, you have to look at everything like in a whole, not just like, okay, did I, could I have saved or not left so much money in the deal? I don't know. I feel like what you said, like the time thing, I feel like that's like the number one thing that people underestimate. Everyone comes into this business and they think, I'm going to be able to do this.
I'll make millions my first 6 months, and I'm not going to settle for anything less.
Yeah, and I mean, granted that has happened, and like even like this last couple of years, people came in and got really fucking lucky. Not no disrespect to them, but like market was fantastic.
Yeah,
and with the hedge funds and everything,
it's impossible.
It made it easy.
Money.
Like, and that's why I think so many people have pulled back, and why so many people are now, you don't even hear about them, they're out of the business, is because they didn't actually know the business.
Yeah, a lot of people never learned how to get like good deals.
No. Exactly. Like watching your videos and like you're on the phones with these people, like most of them never did that. Like they would either find something on the MLS, no disrespect to people, find something on the MLS, of course, but back before that was like,
not realistic.
That was not realistic. Like years ago, like flippers wouldn't buy your deal if it was an MLS deal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like they just wouldn't.
We never did that in New Jersey where we were doing deals.
Yeah.
I mean, we did zero.
They literally look at it and they'd be
deal.
like, well, why don't I just go buy this after you cancel, because I'm not going to buy it. You're not going to find a buyer, and then I'll go buy it after. Like that's literally what you heard.
That's what I would tell wholesalers in New Jersey. I'd be like, why are you sending this to me? I'll just like buy it myself.
Exactly.
Right.
So I feel like that, people have been spoiled these last couple of years, and I think that's why we've had so many people, disappear, and which is good. Which is good for. It sounds bad, but it's good for actual operators.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And especially when you think about like, with how the hedge funds were buying. Think about that. Like you had people buying stuff like 90% on the market, and then just literally turning around and selling it at 93%.
We were ripping deals like brand new listing,
That's what I mean.
Piece of shit in Mesa, and we would give them their asking price,
right.
and then still sell it to a hedge fund and make like $30K.
So that's what I mean. Like
that's just
it's amazing. Like
so, it's like obviously if you had people that had just come into this industry and they're like, oh shit, I can do that. You know what I mean? Because all they do is they get training really quick and they learn how to do it, and it's like, and then they're doing that, and then that disappears. Dude, they're sitting there with their, sitting on their hands like, I don't know what the hell to do right now. Like once that's gone, it can make it very difficult.
Right. It's like you call the agent. Yeah, I'll give you your asking price, and I'll also give you the best terms, and we'll close in 10 days. And, they're like, all right, I guess I'll take your offer.
Right. Exactly.
That's a lot different than buying a deal at 40, 50%.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
for sure.
People are going to get weeded out of the business, I think, during times like this. How have you guys adjusted, though? Because it sounds like you guys got into the business like 2014. The market was, pretty much on the up and up since then.
Yeah.
And we just, hit the first time where the market's taken a dip. So how have you guys adjusted your strategy?
We pulled back a lot on marketing, obviously, because, everyone that we talk to as well that we have respect for as well is like, nothing's working in marketing. Nothing. You know what I mean? Cold calling is not working. Mailers aren't working. PPC is not working. Just everything. Everything texting is not working. And it just comes down to like where the market's at. You know what I mean? Like you've just got people that are not super interested in selling because they're sitting on a 3% interest rate. So they don't have a whole lot of motivation to sell. Even when you have the people that have motivation to sell, it's just been, obviously, as we know, the last 7 months it's been tough, right? So we pulled back a lot on marketing. And then basically we're trying to get to zero with our negative deals that we had, because obviously we were flipping a lot.
Yeah.
And so we had a couple deals that we only have 2 left now, but we're just trying to get back to zero in the sense of, okay, all these properties that we had that we're gonna lose on, you know what I mean? Because we're losing on a lot of deals because we
went from like 30 to now 2.
Yeah,
so.
we had expectations of like selling them at a certain price point when you're running a 10% profit margin. If the market drops 20%, guess what? You're losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we've only got 2 left. So we're basically just trying to get rid of these last 2, and then now what we're doing is we're just buying extremely safe. We're buying lower dollar because what we've seen is that the area that's gotten hit the hardest is that 500 to $1 million mark. And again, it just comes down to affordability. Mm-hmm. These guys were looking at $700,000, $800,000 homes that you're looking at purchasing, 6 months ago, a year ago, and you're like, okay, my payment on that can be whatever, $3,500. Well, now with interest rates, your $3,500 payment is on a $500,000 home, and so it's like that's the biggest difference that we've seen is that price point. So we're staying away from that. We're staying away from about 500 to $1 million. Mm-hmm. So we're going sub 500, which is why Hackamore was like right on the border there of what we were interested in.
Yeah, that was like you guys bought that deal when from us?
We bought it after the market was already down.
It was already, you guys were one of the last people that were still buying. Everyone else was kind of pulling back. I was like, I don't know if, I feel like it's a deal, but everyone was pulling back.
Yeah.
I think it was like September maybe.
Yeah, but it looks like you guys might make some money on that one still.
Yeah,
we squeaked out with some money.
We made some money on it. Nothing crazy, but we made some money on it.
Probably would rather the quick assignment fee like us sometimes, but that's the way it goes.
Well, that's what's funny because you guys made 10K on that.
Yeah,
I think we made 10K. So you guys make 10K by just a quick assignment on it. But I mean, like again, that's one of those things where everyone's in different spots, and how we view things with where we're at right now. If we don't have money coming in from real estate, then obviously we're going to be like everyone else, and you go BK, right? That's how it works. So we're viewing it as if you don't do deals, you don't have a chance at making any money.
Yeah, there's no chance.
That's why we're still flipping. Is like we're being extremely safe, but we're either going to give ourselves a chance and maybe we make 10 grand on a flip, which obviously, do we run it to make 10 grand? Fuck no. We never want to make 10 grand on a flip, obviously. But at the same time, if you can keep your crews busy, because we've got really good crews that we don't want to lose.
Sure.
Keep your crews busy, and maybe you're going to take a loss. Maybe you're going to lose 10 grand on this one. Maybe you're going to lose 5 grand. Maybe you're going to lose 20 grand. But if you can offset that with the ones that you do end up making 20 on, or 30 on, or 50 on, which we have those. You know what I mean? We have those that are in under construction right now. That we probably have 4 or 5. We bought 5 houses in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks. We're flipping all of them, and I mean realistically, like we truly believe, based off of these new numbers that we've run, that we'll make at least 40 grand on every one of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta take a chance. Like you can sit back. I know a lot of people are like, I'm not gonna flip. I'm not gonna do anything. And it's like, okay, well, wholesales aren't there right now, and if they are, they're very, very low. Like. You're talking 10K wholesales. You know what I mean? They're pretty low dollar ones. And so it's like, if you're not really wholesaling much, how are you bringing in money if it's real estate wise? If that's what your main job is. So we're going to take a chance every time. and and that's why when, you know, people ask, like, you guys are still flipping, why are you guys doing that? Because, you know, you just buy safer, but you got to stay up somehow.
We've talked to people that, you know, have flipped 10,000 homes and made it through like the last downturn and everything.
Yeah.
And we've, you know, we get a lot of advice from them. And one of the biggest things that they've, you know, instilled in us was there's still tons of money to be made even when the market is declining. You just have to just buy better. You have to buy better and focus on deals you can get in and out of. Like the Hackmore deal, honestly, like that actually took us like 2 weeks longer than we were like expecting, maybe 3 weeks longer. You know, the pool was shot. We were getting, you know, pool guy took a little bit longer, just odds and ends. But that's like what we're focusing on, is because we can get in and out of something
quick, easy
in
ones.
30 days, staying under a price point, and just limit your exposure. But like Luke's saying, you actually still have a chance to make money. I mean, we're relying on it. Our team's relying on it. We've got an operation, you know, our contractors. So it's really the only option.
It's just,
for us.
you just gotta tighten the ship more. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And I feel like, you know, we just hit a really tough part in the market where those buyers, like you guys, you obviously need a pullback because you're clearing your books and you're seeing all these L's and you're like, all right, we got to buy deeper.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
For sure.
But sellers are delayed.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're just not as in tune with the market. 6 months ago to them isn't very long. Their neighbor sold 6 months ago, and now they want to sell. They're like,
you're like, yeah, a little bit's changed since then.
you know, in their mind, they're like, not much has changed, right? Like the news is starting to kind of get bad, but it's still not like that bad. What you're seeing. So I just think we need a little bit more time to play out too, from a seller's perspective. I obviously talk to a lot of sellers on the phone still, and it seems like it's slowly shifting where they're finally committing to the market has changed. Prices are probably going to be lower.
And now it's just whether they're willing to do it or not.
It takes a while though, I think, for the average seller, unless they're like super distressed, to finally cave into that lower number. But enough time goes by, that's their only option. Like people have to move on with their lives. They have to finally, you know, sell the house that the kids grew up in and downsize to a new state or whatever.
No, for sure.
I just think it's kind of a slow bleeding out process. That
we're coming up on.
Like that. I feel like we're kind of right in the middle of it at the end of this year.
For sure.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Are you guys buying then, like your new flips, is it mostly from wholesalers or is it just direct stuff that you guys are?
Yeah, we've pivoted to more of a JV model where we're, you know, working with wholesalers and, you know, really just making them all offers and, you know, we'll guarantee we close at this number and, you know, see what happens. And most of the deals that are out there, most of the deals that are getting blasted and everything, those numbers still don't work.
I know.
Like the numbers still don't work. Like everyone says like, oh yeah, look at this comp. And it's like, trust me, we're listing them and we're seeing what the buyers are saying. And I can guarantee you your value isn't the real value.
Right.
Yeah. I've been ultra like conservative on underwriting deals. Like right now in Phoenix, I'm looking, if it's not under 60% for us trying to potentially wholesale it out, like I don't even want it. And then on top of that, it also kind of has to be like a decent property in itself.
For sure.
Exactly.
You know, if it's a weird, like we looked at one in Scottsdale and it was like the worst layout of all time. Like you have to take out all the walls now. It's going to be a bunch of permits. It's going to add to the holding costs. So I think it's not just even the numbers, but you also have to look at the flippers right now. What do they want? They want stuff in and out.
They want the quick, easy stuff.
They want, you know, 3 twos, not only one bathrooms, or not the one where it's it's on a busy, shitty road, but in 2021, that shit would have sold no problem.
You nailed it. We literally will not buy anything on a busy road right now. We will not buy anything less than a 3-2.
Shitty additions.
Anything weird, you're just kind of like,
you don't need to.
Want it.
You don't need to. You don't want to take that chance right now when it is as tough to buy right now as it is. You're not going to take chances on stuff like that right now.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is too, is that we talk about this, is that like, obviously wholesalers are hurting too because they're not moving stuff. So what we're seeing a lot of is like wholesalers when they blast their properties, those ARVs that they're pushing now are just like, they're like bumping them left and right. And it's like, dude, like I understand you're trying to get like, it's like clickbait because you want to show like the purchase price versus the ARV and you want to have a big enough spread in there. But it's like, you're still trying to say this thing is worth $650 when a comp just closed that is gorgeous and it's got an extra bedroom or it's extra 200 square feet and it just closed for $599.
Right.
Like, no, that's not pulling 650.
And you're seeing it a lot, and you know, like we haven't sent you a lot of deals because we haven't come across a lot of deals.
No, exactly.
It's tough.
But I'm like, I'm not gonna waste time going under contract on this.
Well, you guys even on
that's-
Hackmore, you guys had to go back and get a price reduction.
We did,
I know,
yeah, just to make a spread. And I think that's a lot of the game right now too. Is these deals where there might be like $3K in spreads.
Yep.
You have to kind of go back, renegotiate, and try to make your fees.
But again, that's what we were talking about earlier as well, is that like in order to go back and do these price reductions, you got to have fucking skill to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all these people that didn't know how to do that and never did that, that's why they're out, because they don't have the skill to do that. People like you and people like us, we've had these conversations for the past, 6 years, 4 years of doing it daily though. Like when you're doing that daily,
all the time,
then it's like second nature to you. You know what I mean? Having these calls where people are like, "Oh God, I don't want to make this call. I don't want to try to get a price reduction. This is gonna be terrifying." And it's like for us, we're like, call him right now. I'm gonna call him right now and tell him what's going on. Hey, I can't buy this at 420 anymore. I got to be at, or whatever the numbers were on ours.
Whatever it is.
I got to be at 360. 40K, yeah. 40K. The market's dropped that much.
I've been telling
and it
them,
continues to drop.
Like, tough times. You're having a shitty time too, right? Yeah. I am as well.
Right.
This market sucks. I agree. But
exactly.
Are we going to move forward and get this deal done? Forward,
this is where I'm at. I 100% can close on this right now if you can make this happen. If they say no, they say no. And guess what? They're going to get jerked around by 3 other wholesalers. They're going to try to lock them up at a higher price.
Yeah, we're seeing it,
just is
a
what it is.
lot. Like, you see it get blasted out, and then it's back on market. Then you're talking to the agent, and they're like, well, I might take this. You're like, how many times are you going to go through this before you guys actually want to get the deal done?
Just happened to one in Prescott that we were looking at.
Yep.
But so.
How's the short-term rentals going for you guys? You guys mostly have them up north, right?
Yeah, most are up north.
We've got, I think there's 7 up north, and then there's 2 down here in the valley.
I don't have any short-term rentals, but I've been just hearing on the internet that they're struggling right now. Short-term
taking
rentals.
a hit.
They're taking a hit for sure.
Yeah, they've definitely taken a hit.
A lot more competition.
I honestly, I feel like it's more competition-wise. So like up north, at least, this is what we can gauge it off of. We can't, some of these other markets I've heard are like super saturated.
You're in Prescott, mostly.
Yeah, Prescott. But in Prescott, like over the last let's say like going back like 2 years, we were absolutely crushing it 2 years ago because there was very few people actually doing it. And then, as, news catches on, you get a lot more competition. Now there's a ton more options. So what we've, found, and Luke can talk more about this, is, you have to make something unique for people to like pick you rather than, other ones. And we've got some that we haven't done that to that, they struggle.
I saw that one you guys did. It looks really cool, like with the bookshelves, and does it have like a speakeasy in it? Or?
So we just called it a speakeasy Airbnb.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Jake was saying, you got to do something that's more unique. So it's like we went crazy on that one, and I mean, we spent stupid money on it. Like we did. Like that wallpaper. That wallpaper was. So keep in mind, for like a wall that size, we usually spend maybe somewhere in the ballpark like $400 to $500 on wallpaper. That wallpaper was $3,500.
Oh wow!
So we spent $3,500 on wallpaper from the UK that took 12 months to get here.
12 months?
12 weeks. I'm sorry. It took 12 weeks to get here. 12 weeks to get here.
Wow.
Yeah. So like obviously when it came in to the guy that was the wallpaper installer, I was like, listen, pal,
don't you fuck this up.
You gotta understand, all right? I'm 3 months out from getting this stuff if you fuck this up, all right? Yeah. And it's really expensive, so this has got to be your best job. And so he did a couple other jobs for us, so he did a really good job on it. But I mean, no, so you gotta make things unique. You gotta go above and beyond right now. And so the good thing is that in Prescott, where most of ours are, wintertime does really well there.
Sure.
October, November, December have been insane. So I mean, like we've got, for that speakeasy, we have 2 nights available for the month of December, and it's the nights that we're staying. So they're not even available. We're staying for New Year's. So I mean, it's every night's booked for that one. And then some of our other ones that exactly what Jake's saying, when they're more unique, they kill it. They do extremely well. So you just got to stay up ahead of the curve. So we've got, like Jake said, we got a couple that like we could probably come in and do a couple things to kind of give them that extra thing.
Spice it up a little bit.
They're still super nice rehabs and super clean.
And I mean, one of those is because we just got to you know, we got a really unique house. It's super cool. But it was like, it was nice, but it wasn't like renovated to like what we do. So it has like it's got nice cabinets, it's got nice countertops, really nice flooring and everything. But like, it's not like the extra pizzazz that we kind of throw on our properties now. And so that's probably one that, you know, we'll probably end up coming in and kind of adding some of that stuff that we normally do to them.
Yeah, I guess like it depends too. Like if you plan on holding it forever and this is what we're doing with it, you go over the top like that, sure. But if you might want to, like we'll rent it out, but maybe we want to sell it, then all of a sudden you made it into this crazy ass looking Airbnb,
and that's something you got to be careful about. Yeah. Like like that speakeasy, like the scariest thing on that one.
What's the true value? You know, like what's it going to appraise for?
Yeah, right. The scariest thing the scariest decision that my wife and I made that we've had to make yet was on that one. We did black paint for the entire house. Interior. The whole that was the scariest decision ever because we're like, shit, if this doesn't work, you've got black paint on every fucking wall on the entire house. And it's like, yeah, you think that some tenants is going to be like, yeah, this will work. Like, no, like they're probably going to be like, what is going on in here? And so that was like one of the scariest decisions, which sounds so funny, picking a paint color. But it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, we're either selling out or we're not. Because if those walls were white, guess what? Property has nowhere near the same effect. Nowhere near.
Right.
So
it completely changes the vibe.
Yeah, completely changes it.
And I think that's what it seems like Airbnb, they're really pushing more of the experiences.
They are.
They don't want kind of your basic ass house on their website.
I know. For sure. And they're rewarding you for doing that, for having, you know, tying in an experience with kind of like a more unique property now. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you guys want to pick up more short-term rentals?
We're not opposed to it.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're like right now, like for this next year, we were talking to Tyson about this last week, and he's like, what's your guys' like plan for this year? And like honestly, with like interest rates, if they stay where they're at, most likely we're not going to buy to keep anything.
No.
Yeah, we're closed on a refi tomorrow, and I think it's over 7%.
Right.
I mean, it's like $100,000 property, so when it's that cheap, you're kind of like, fuck it.
It's like the deal, but it's like the thing with those price points. That's why we're focusing on the smaller price points, because it doesn't affect your loan that much. I mean, you know, smaller dollars, but so when you ask like, do we want to get into more? Like, you know, if we came across the right opportunity and, you know, we can get decent interest rates, yeah, absolutely, we'll buy more. But I think what we really want to focus on is, you know, the development side and more bigger multifamily. That's our.
Just want to get into more.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the next step for you guys. You think is just bigger and
that's just one of those things
deals.
Where, you know, once you do some of the larger deals, you realize it's the same amount of work into it.
Just more zeros on the back end.
It really is. It really is.
I know Grant Cardone says it all the time, but it's actually fucking true. Like, it actually is.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you guys you're 8, 9 into real estate, and I think that's like a good like natural progression. And but sometimes you hear Grant's advice is like, single family's bullshit, like just buy these apartments. And I don't think anyone new within their first couple of years should straight up dive into big development.
Biggest thing is you have to generate revenue. You have to build capital. So, I mean, like Grant, he had a huge sales platform that he was making millions and millions of dollars. Like, not everyone has that. So that's like us, like, all of us, we get started in wholesaling.
Most people in general don't have that.
Yeah. So you have to figure out like a vehicle to generate capital. Like, that's why wholesaling and flipping, that's us. And then, you know, you can build out the rest of your business to adhere to more like the multifamily space. But also like Grant Cardone, you'll hear him say like, rent your house, don't own which I just found out like the other day because I saw him, he was renting out like that Miami beach house.
Penthouse.
Motherfucker owns it.
Does he?
He owns it and he leases it from himself. Like I get like, lease it. But you're giving a mixed signal because you actually own that property and you rent it from your own corporation, but still you bought that. You're not paying rent to someone else.
Yeah.
So we're big advocates of buying your house. Like, don't listen to that. Like, I mean, there's a million ways to skin the cat, but that's how we are.
Yeah, and I think it depends.
Yeah.
If you're super young, you don't know where you're going to stay for a while. It's nice to be able to go in and out, or just like owning a house. It just you don't know exactly how much you're going to pay each month if you have to replace a AC unit or
and I'm sorry, but if you're married and you've got kids like we both are, I don't want to have to ask my landlord if I can change the paint color. Like, I don't want to have to do that. Like, no, it's going to be my house. It's going to be my domain. I'm going to do what I want in my house.
Luke's all about his dojo.
Got to just ask your HOA.
Exactly, right?
I got kicked off my HOA board.
Did you?
Did you really?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
So...
Wait, off the HOA board?
Yeah, I joined the board when I got my house.
Which is smart.
Right? Yeah. And then someone submitted requests. They wanted to just remove, it's like a palm tree like out front in their front yard. And I'm like, approve. And everyone's like, deny, like, that's a nice tree.
You're like, you guys care way too much.
And I went hard. I went in on it, man, because I was like, do you understand? Like, I'm in real estate. I talk to sellers every day. Like, no one really in like the East Valley wants to live in these HOAs. Yeah. And not because we don't like a lot of the other benefits, right? Like like the nice little parks or
because
nice
you micromanage.
But you guys micromanage, and it doesn't have to be. I was like, it doesn't have to be like this.
Yeah.
Like, we are collectively as a group, and they're like, well, you seem to be in the minority. I'm like, no, the average homeowner, they just don't want to waste their time. Like, they have other shit on their plate. They got 3 kids, they got this and that. Yeah. They don't have time to respond to emails about Sally cutting down their tree.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm like, this is a big problem. So I'm trying to kind of rewrite the CC&Rs and just like extreme, like leave people alone. And unless you have a neighbor doing something like crazy,
a bunch of shit.
Like, that's the main reason people like HOAs, in my opinion, is like, okay, just so Sally doesn't paint her house pink and yellow, and that she doesn't put out.
Even if one crazy Sally in the neighborhood paints it pink and yellow, is that a bad thing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, your kids know about it. Like, it kind of adds a little character to neighborhood. But we're going on and on about, you know, what approved color tiles for the roof, and I'm like, go to this. How many different tile colors are there?
It's tile.
Like it's tile. We're wasting time here, guys.
Let's cut it down to 3 now.
Yeah, it's tough, but sense. You know, kind of the world we're living in right now.
For sure.
So do you guys end in the year this year?
Biggest thing we're pushing for the end of this year is House of Viking.
Yeah, you're building your community, right?
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about that, because I mean, you guys been in the game 8 years, and you guys never gotten too much. Obviously, some YouTube videos and stuff, but this seems like the first time you guys are really trying to build up a community, right?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I mean, so many people have asked us like, "Oh, when are you getting into coaching? When are you getting into coaching?" And we fucking like, honestly, we hate that even thought. Like, and that was like our biggest thing was we're so focused on building our business, and like that has gotten all of our attention. We didn't want to go out and start coaching and do this stuff because it was going to pull us away from that.
For sure.
Which we've seen happen to like other people. And so we were so focused on that. But, you know, as of recent, really like in this last, you know, year, what we've noticed ourselves doing is, you know, looking up to other people that have been in situations like this before us, and, you know, asking them for help. And what we were thinking is, okay, think about all the people that have been in this business, you know, post 2008 that don't necessarily have someone that they can, you know, look up to. And we were like,
that's been through, you know, a downturn already and whatnot.
Sure.
We're like, there's a huge need for like not coaches, but a community to, you know, all come together and, you know, get advice, get, you know, all this stuff. Cause I think back to when we first started, like that first year and a half, 2 years, like we couldn't afford coaching. We couldn't afford, you know, go out and spend
some masterminds, some
10, 20, 30, 40 grand. Like that's what these masterminds are now.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And it's like, you can't, most of these people that are just in the business, they can't afford it. So what we wanted to do was literally create something where anyone can afford it, and they're going to get as much value from it as these $40,000, $50,000 masterminds.
Yeah.
And paying a coach, you know, 20, 30, 40 grand. So Luke can talk a little bit more about what we're going to like cover and everything, but
but I mean, and also to hit on what Jake said too, like, you know, we've already got people reached out that have reached out to get into House of Viking, the community, where literally guys that do, you know, multi-millions a year, right? Like couple, you know, $2, $3, $4 million a year in sales. And then we've also had people reach out that we went, you know, to high school with, and they're like, hey, I just want to learn how to buy my first Airbnb. I want to try to start going the route of like maybe buying a couple Airbnbs and just making that my income so I can, you know, kind of step away from my job. So it's like, it's going to be a wide variety of everything we talk about. And there's also been a huge, like, we think there's been a huge shortage in the sense of the coaching programs that are out there now. Dude, you got like, okay, they're all very, very specialized, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It's very
super
good.
niche.
Yeah, they're very niche, exactly. But I mean, like, you'll have one for sub 2, right? You have one for cold calling. You have one for astroflipping. You have one for marketing, like whatever it is.
Yeah, agent outreach.
Right, agent outreach, exactly. So you've literally got something for absolutely everything. If somebody wants to learn a lot in real estate and not just be very niche on one thing, are you going to spend 10 grand per coaching program or 5 grand per coaching program and drop 25 to 50 G's just so you can kind of learn every one of these things? So we're going to go over literally everything real estate. So it's going to be like the last 8 years everything that we've learned over the last 8 years. So we're going to go over development, like how to get into it. What's a good idea, how to do it. We're going to go over wholesaling. We're going to go over flipping. We're going to go over Airbnbs. We're going to do cold call coaching. So like if you've got call recordings and you can like submit them and be like, hey, like, will you listen to this? Like, where do I need to get better? And it's like, hey, you need to get a lot better. Like, you need to no longer say that. So we're going to do weekly calls where it's like, submit your calls. We'll listen to them and tell you how you can get better, stuff like that. And like Jake said, it's going to be extremely, extremely affordable. Yeah. So it's just going to be like a monthly. So we're doing a founder's special up until February 1st. So the last day of January. So up until that date, we're doing a founder's special. It'll be $97 a month.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So if you come in and within that time frame, you're going to be set for at $97 a month for the rest of your life. But then obviously after that date, it's gonna go to the normal price, which will be $197.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's tough too. Like I put out a lot of content, do educational stuff, but trying to figure out a way to provide value, make money off coaching. Like I've been trying to figure out a way to do it, especially in Phoenix where so many people are doing it in different ways. And not to knock some guys, but like someone joined our team who paid like $30,000 to, a coach for just some like one-on-one help, who pretty much just told them like, hey,
the fucking basics.
Dude, it happens everywhere. That happens all the time.
And I never felt good. Like I wouldn't feel good about like taking $30K from someone brand new, because I just don't think I could provide that dollar amount value when there's so much information out there. But I think the biggest thing though is having a community where when you get into the weeds of something and you're about to close on a deal and title says something random that you just never picked up on a YouTube video. Exactly. It could be a quick like, hey Luke, like what does this mean? And you're just like, oh dude, don't worry about that. It's all good. Yeah. Move forward. And then they're like, all right, that's really all they really needed.
And we're gonna have that on our website too. So we're gonna have like House of Viking. We're gonna have basically an area where you can literally ask any question that you want. So be like, whatever questions. Submit your questions that you've got to the website, and then we'll literally get back to the questions. So we'll literally be able to answer them at any time. Which
exactly like you said. I mean, because 99.5 out of 100 of the issues we've ran into over the last 8 years. And I mean, that's what's so hard is like, there's so many coaches out there and like, you don't even fucking know if they're actually ever doing deals.
That too. I mean, it's a tough space to be in, like
for sure.
Like even, I know I've talked to you about like these e-com stores. Absolutely. And I've dove into a lot of these like, real estate guys who then just are making a lot of money in a lot of different ways. And you just don't want to get grouped into the guys that aren't doing the right things. I know a bunch of guys too that are crushing it with their communities and provide a ton of value.
No, for sure.
But it's a matter of like figuring out a way to do it and having creating like the right type of community as well.
Yeah, well, like another thing is kind of gotten to that point too where it's like we have, there might be 20 messages like a week of just quick messages we get on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, saying like, just asking questions. Hey, can I pick your brain? Can I, how would you do this? How would you do that? And so it's like, we've talked about, it's like, if you answer every one of those questions and actually go into depth on like what you should do, dude, you're taking so much time away from your actual business by just, by just helping people out, it's a good thing to help people out, obviously. But we're like, okay, like this is going to actually give us a space where people can go to now to ask these questions. So it's not just straight like, hey, Luke, I got 6 questions for you. Could you just give me your best, what do you think I should do on these situations? And it's like, okay, well, this is going to take me 20 minutes to sit here and answer this guy's questions that he's asking.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying don't ask questions, but I'm just saying that, if there's a space where you can go to ask these questions and then you don't have to feel bad about it at all.
Yeah, and I've answered those questions too, but I think sometimes as well, there is a dynamic where if you're paying for something, you also actually listen and take action on the advice compared to if you're just like that dude who just saw me, oh, I found you on TikTok, and then shoots me like, what would you do in this situation?
Exactly.
It's like you're spending all that time and energy to answer, but then there's a 95% chance they do nothing with that. Compared to, you know, if someone just pays even $100 a month,
for sure,
that person's like invested now. There's a good chance they're actually gonna, you know, do something with that advice.
Yeah, I mean, the other part is like the whole community side. Like everyone's gonna work together. Like you're gonna be around like-minded people. Like iron sharpens iron. Like if you're not around those types of people, and like, you know, we've talked about this before. Like you outgrow your friends. You sometimes you like. You know, there's certain things that you feel like you can't really share with people because
how they're going to look at you.
They're going to think you're boasting or you're bragging about something. And it's like, no, you're fucking not. You just want to talk. Like there's certain things you might want to share that might come off like arrogant to, you know, certain people. But that's why we were like, there's needs to be something like this where people can
share your wins too.
Share your wins and, you know, literally like lean on other people. And that's what we wanted to create, just such like a community space rather than some coaching program. Like personally, that's just how we approached it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you guys have so much experience in so many different avenues and currently doing deals in this current market, which I think if you're going to be doing that and coaching this business, like you got to be coaching based off like what's happening here and now because it's such a fast changing market. So I'm excited for that, guys. Where if people want to learn more about that, what's the best way to...
you can go to, so what we're doing right now is you can just reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook. So my Instagram is Luke_RO_.
Yep, mine's Jake_Landis22. But the website is houseofviking.com. And you can check it out there. You know, if you have any questions, like Luke said, shoot us a DM or anything, and we'll be happy to answer anything.
Well, love it, guys. Thanks for coming on today and continue crushing it. And
thanks, man.
Excited. Hopefully we do some more deals than just one.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on.